I wanted to make a show about Austin's rooftop sculptures, characters. I'm not even sure if I should call them sculptures because they're kind of unconventional, not really considered art or sculpture. And that really interests me in the position they have within the culture and art directive environment here in Austin. So the main characters in the show are the Big Star Bingo Gorilla, and the Wheatsville Raptor. The sculptures, they are part of our present reality. They're often like from the 50s. They have this function of being a commercial object, like this is our shop, but they're kind of slowly disappearing, and especially like as Austin is getting more popular and bigger and high rises are coming up, I have a feeling like these, for a lot of people designing buildings at the moment, they're not gonna fit into that aesthetic anymore. And I like to find these things that I feel like they'll be part of our collective memory when we look back, and they're part of our collective memory here in Austin, but also in a wider sense. They're reminiscent of a different time, and they're still here. And I like pointing them out and be like, hey, let's notice it, and let's all kind of appreciate and archive them at the same time. I think in general, like all the pieces present themselves as like joyful and light, fun and whimsical. And as soon as you like kind of take a bigger stare and like look at what's going on, there's that certain darkness of the reality, and of the like maybe the negative part of our changing environment in there as well. As much as I can appreciate them as a sculpture or as, in a way, art or important, secretly their purpose is just to sell stuff or to be like a name for a business. So that's why that monkey is like kind of, he was playing around in a cart and then he fell over and I was like splotted on the ground and kind of taken over by its actual purpose. For this show, I worked more on a process that I've developed myself, which I call like fabric mold making. I kind of came upon it on accident, where I discovered that I could like make a fabric mold, fill it with foam, and actually would be able to remove the fabric. And I really like kind of like how I start off with fabric, and in the end it's not, there's no fabric involved anymore, but I love how you can see all the little fabric folds and subtleties still present, so it's almost like reminiscent of fabric in the end. Well, I really like how with the flocking I can also kind of re-establish the mold, like you have to work in kind of smaller sections with flocking, so lining up my sections kind of made these like lines of the original mold visible again. And the biggest challenge was to kind of make the work bigger and see how the kind of expanding foam that I use would interact with it on a bigger scale. Like I made one work, a giant work twice, because it turned into this like wrinkly grandpa, just because I had to like expand it so much more. So having to kind of like come up with ways to fill areas, working on this bigger scale has been very challenging. I wanted to make the sculptures kind of come alive. I think it was important to give them life and movement, and like I tried in the sculptures as well to suggest movement, and then even more so in like the animations, and to make them kind of more part of like our reality, because they are part of our reality, but having them more like characters that have a certain like soul and they live. Yeah, so I have collaborated and have hired a bunch of different people to help me with different elements of the show. The animations are by Claire Schleicher. She really kind of drove home that movement and the fantasia kind of visualization of the sculptures. and then I had digital integration assistance from Casey Alfstad. The musical score that's created for the show is made by Kenzie Slotto. They're a flautist, but super unconventional, almost like beatboxing into the flute. I felt like their sound was perfect for the show because it has that fantasia, dreamy, like take me away into this movement sound to it, and then the beatboxing brings it back to this like urban environment where the sculptures are naturally also standing. As much as I'm coming from an outside perspective and I'm looking maybe at America from this like outsider lens, I do think that really isolating these like really to me very significant cultural like beacons of our time and our environment, it makes us kind of more like you walk with your head up and you're looking around and you're like absorbing your environment. And the best compliment I can get from like anything I show is always that people come back to me and they're like, oh, I never noticed that and now I see it everywhere. And I like creating that awakeness and this like a relative perspective on our present time and the elements that we might look back on as we move on in time.